Hey guys, it's Leo with Dreaming Tree, and in this video we're going to put together our gingerbread tea light ornament. So I have all my pieces here in front of me, and I'm going to walk you through everything step by step. So we're going to work with this flat first and do a lot of pre-assembly, and then it's going to kind of come together once we get everything kind of glued into place. It's really just two main pieces that just have a lot of fine little details on them that get glued together to create the final piece. So first thing we're going to do is, this is the inside of the actual gingerbread house, is we're going to place our vellum in these specific places here. Okay, so these two shapes here are going to cover our little windows, and I'm just putting a couple little dots in the middle so that it doesn't come pulling away. And we've left plenty of excess room there so that you have plenty of room to glue everything on without having to get too precise there with the gluing. Okay, so we'll do the red parts first, and I'm just gonna kind of put some dots around this, and you'll notice that these are a little more plump. This is a little more pointy. You want the pointy part up at the top there. And just push that down. Take a look. That looks good. Okay, and then we have this little horseshoe shape. Now this one is a little more, you have to be a little more precise with this. Okay, that's going to cover all of these little cutouts here. So my suggestion is to work little dots in between these holes, just outside of the holes. Okay, and then maybe add a few inside between the holes and the little horseshoe shape, and then work a few dots all the way on the inside there. And don't worry too much about glue going everywhere. If you're just using little dots, it should be okay. This interior part here, you want to get that pretty flush with the little doorway there. And that's how you know that you've got it in the right spot. Just make sure that you've got all of the little cutouts covered by the vellum, and you'll be in good shape. The end result should look like that. Okay, and if you have a little bit of glue that kind of squirted out, it'll dry clear. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So the vellum is done. You can go ahead and flip it over, and we can put our little windows in place. Okay, so the windows are going to go like that. So go ahead and get your glue on there. I'm just using dots because it's a pretty small little piece, and I don't want glue smearing all over the place, so I'm going to kind of dab it a little bit as well. So I just have a nice thin layer of glue. Okay, and just align that with the cutout and push down. Perfect. Find our other little window. Same thing. Just little dots. And I'm just dabbing it. That way it won't turn into a big old mess. Okay, get that nice and aligned over the cutouts and push down. Okay, so simple. So far, so good. All right, let's get our horseshoe in place. Then we can put our little snow drifts on the roof, and then we can get this thing assembled. So again, with this piece, it's pretty small, so work some tiny little dots of glue around the perimeter of this piece here. You don't have to do giant globs of glue because it's going to smear all over the place and it's not going to look good. Okay, and then kind of hold it, and I'm going to dab this as well just to flatten that glue out a little bit. You can spread it thin. Okay, and this little horseshoe piece is going to go right over these cutouts here. So just get that nice and aligned. Like so. There we go. All right, looks good. Perfect. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now we can go ahead and, if we want, we can, well, might as well put this thing together. Okay, so I've already kind of pre-scored, or pre-folded, I should say, a lot of these tabs, but you want to go ahead and basically fold everything at the score marks. Okay, now one other thing you can do while this is flat, you have this one little circular piece here. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue that to the door. This door is for a little tea light. And we've designed it so that it fits a little tea light perfectly, and this is going to be your little, just a little handle that you can kind of put your finger behind to open and close the door. And then on this side here, you can put one of those flat little zots on there to hold it closed. Now, you know what, honestly, I don't even think that's necessary, but it will make it nice and finished if you do it that way, so may as well. Okay, so now that everything is nice and folded for us, we can go ahead and kind of bring it all together here. Okay, so as you can see, what we're going to do is we're going to glue. I'm going to start by just gluing either side. Let's do the front of the house first. Okay, so this little tab here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put glue on this tab. And I'm going to go ahead and spread that glue all the way out to the edge there, just to make it nice and perfect. And then we're going to glue it to this side here. And I got a little bit of glue there. Let me wipe that off completely. And just line that up nicely and precisely. And just press down, just like that. And that looks great. Okay, so we can move on over to the other side here. Same thing. Nice little line of glue. Work another line out to the edge and spread that all the way out to the edge. And bring that in. And get that glued in place. These are really simple, these ornaments, especially this one. They'll go together pretty quick. I'm just taking my time so that I can show you every little process, but once you watch the video, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and you'll be able to whip these out no problem. Okay, so half of it's done here. Now we're going to take and glue the back part to the center of the house. Okay, and just do the same thing. Get some glue right there, work it out to the edge, and bring it in. And just press and hold that. And you see what happened there. Now imagine if I had big globs of glue, what kind of mess that would potentially create. It's really why I like spreading that glue out thin, because it prevents the mess. And just get a lot less unsightly little, even though this is, you know, it says it dries clear, it does, but it still has a sheen to it. And, you know, we don't spend the money on the American Crafts cardstock for no reason. We really love the texture that the paper has, and sometimes when you get a little bit of glue on there, it's not the end of the world, but if you really want to make it pretty, I want to try to preserve that texture. I really love that texture. Okay, that looks good. Actually, I put that down because I was going to possibly clean up one of those sides there, but I don't really need to do that. Okay, so last tab here. And get that out to the edge. Okay, we're gonna make sure our fingers are clean and tuck that back under. And just get that nice and aligned. And push that down. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so next, these tabs here we're going to use to adhere the roof. But what we do have is a little system in place to kind of make this not move so much, because when we were actually putting this together, we realized that it would be helpful to have this little piece here to keep this aligned as well, to make putting the roof on that much easier. So we're going to go ahead and get our glue on this tab here, and then just a little bit of glue in this area here. And I'm going to go ahead and spread that out right up to the edge. Okay, and I'm going to fold this over onto that tab as well as partially on that tab there. Okay, and just hold that in place. That's going to be covered up, so if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So same goes for this, and what you can actually do is you can put a little bit of glue on the edge of this. Okay, I'm just going to spread that thin and get our glue on this tab here, and we're going to work that all the way up to the edge there, and close that up right up to that edge. Just like that. Just make sure this is nice and flush here. And just hold that in place until it sets. Okay. And now this part here that I didn't get my glue in, I'm grabbing my pick-me-up tool, and I'm just putting a little bit of glue on it and just popping it right underneath that part that I didn't get my glue on. So there's a way to pretty much fix anything when it comes to paper. Okay, I'm just going to hold that in place until it fully sets. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now it's nice and straight. And again, you can use a little pop dot or just a little flat pop dot, I guess, to hold that closed. Okay, just you need just a tiny, tiny little bit to hold that closed. Okay, so that's where your tea light's going to go in. All right, so the main structure is pretty much done. Let's take a look at our roof. Okay, and we've got all of these little snow drifts on here, and each side has kind of a mirror of, you know, of itself. So you want to make sure that you get the right ones on the right side. So for this snowdrift here, you're going to want to grab this piece, and that one corresponds to that one there, and then grab this piece. So they're going to go like this, while on the other side of the roof, it's going to go like this. It's going to go like this, and then like this, and then like this. Okay, and this piece here, now I actually cut this out on glitter paper, so it's going to be a little more difficult to tell unless you look from the inside, but there are a series of little cuts in here to help you with the placement of this. Okay, so if you grab your piece, you'll notice that one side has these little tabs on them. Okay, and I've also inked this with some turquoise ink, obviously. This side here that has the tabs, okay, we'll call this side A. Okay, so here you got the little tabs here. This is side A. Side A is going to use this set of corresponding little snow drifts. Okay, so I know it's kind of hard to see the little cutouts that we added there, but it's going to go like this. And there's my little, you can see one little, well, I can see one little notch. That's where that piece is going to go. Okay, and then this piece obviously is going to go right over where the hole is for the ornament, or for the cord, or you know, the string or whatever it is you're going to use to hold this in place. And then there's also one tiny little notch there, one little cutout for that snowdrift. Okay, so that is how we're going to glue these down. And then the other side, it's the same thing except it's just mirrored. Okay, so let me clean off the tip of my glue bottle. And let's go ahead and get these in place. I'm going to start with the most obvious one, and that will kind of help you set the tone for the rest of it, because if you are also cutting this out with glitter paper, it may be difficult for you to see these little cutouts, which is okay. You definitely, once you identify where they're going, you'll see it. Okay, and once you kind of place them, the little cutouts will become more visible. Now again, when you're gluing things to glitter, give it a little more time. Give it more time to set. And you may need to use a little bit more glue. Basically trying to glue plastic to paper. And the back of this is more of a, I don't even know, I wouldn't call it like the typical AC cardstock. This isn't AC, it's glitter paper, but the texture on it is very, I don't even know, it's more like cardboard than anything. Okay, so throw some extra glue on there and throw some extra patience on this piece as well. Make sure you really give that a chance to dry before moving on. So we'll leave this flat until we're totally sure that everything is nice and set. Okay, and this piece here is going to go right there. Get our little snowdrift on there. And push down, give it a good amount of force to make sure that that glue seeps in between the little pieces of glitter there. Okay, and we can go ahead and rotate this and just repeat the process again. Okay, on the other side. And let's get our glue on this top part here. And you know what? If the glue spills out on this, if you're using glitter, I'm not really too concerned about it, because you're not really going to see it. That glitter, there's so much going on with that glitter that I don't even think it would allow that glue to show through, to be honest. And you'll notice here on this piece here, I didn't get enough glue on the bottom. It's actually kind of a cool effect, but I'm going to go in and clean that up. So make sure that you get your glue out to the very edges of everything here, just to make sure that everything sits nicely, and especially so it doesn't fall off. Okay, so now that I'm applying my glue and I have a little more experience with this, I'm gonna work some extra glue out to the tips of these things and really spread that out to the edges, just to make sure that I don't have anything at all peeling up. Okay, so this next piece, and I do see it here. There it is. Okay, just like that. Let's get that in place. Add some extra pressure and give it extra time to dry as well. And let's get our glue on this last piece here. And then we'll kind of fold and bend our roof into shape and get it glued to the main structure and be on the home stretch. Okay, so this piece here, there's a little notch to help you identify where that goes. And I'm just gonna use my whole hand to push that down and get that glued. Glitter on glitter is a little tough sometimes, but that looks cool. Okay, so you got your little snow drift there. All right, so I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit here, but what we're gonna do, and again, glitter on glitter, we're gonna put glue on this tab here, spread that out, and just glue it to the back of that piece there, right at that little crease, and hold that in place until it really sets. Okay, so we have one side glued down. Now, one thing that will help you get this part to set more efficiently is by making sure that you crease these nicely so that they don't flare out, so that they almost sit flush on their own, which they should. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put glue on that other tab right there. Okay, and just get that glued to the back side of this side here. Okay, and just really get your thumb on there and hold that between your two fingers until it's completely dry. That is if you're using glitter. With paper, I mean, it's so much easier. With the AC cardstock, it has so much porous area that glue just seeps in, does its job, and before you know it, it's dry. This glitter, you may, if you want, you could probably use some hot glue if you're gluing glitter to glitter, which in this case I am. That will set a lot quicker on this sort of material. Okay, but you can pretty much feel when it's ready, and I think that's ready. So all that's left to do now is take the sides here. There's also two little tabs on each side here. It's a really small tab, but you're gonna put just maybe a drop of glue on there, tuck it under the front, and just glue it to the back of that. Okay, and that's just gonna kind of keep it at the angle that we want it at. Get rid of any excess glue that may smear out. And you see how, unlike the AC cardstock, that does not set as quick with this glitter paper. So just be very patient and hold that until it really sets. Okay, just a few extra seconds is all it needs. Okay, and just repeat that process, and that is not enough time. You gotta give it more time. I'm trying not to bore you guys, but in the process, I'm losing this battle because of this glitter, which is fine. Like I said, if you want to use some hot glue, it may actually be to your benefit. Another thing you can do, if you have some really strong clothespins, you can probably maybe get them in here and do the holding for you so you can move on to other things. Maybe those metal clips that you can get at the office supply store or something that might hold it. But I also worry about that potentially creasing the paper, so I think it's best to find something that has a very flat surface on both sides that could possibly hold it. And there's really nothing as good as my fingers right now as far as what I have available, but so I'm just going to work with what I have. And that seemed to hold nicely. Okay, so again, other tab here on the other side, and maybe my problem was I used too much glue. So I'm gonna use a little less. Less is more. Okay, and just hold that in place. So what that's doing is it's helping this angle and helping maintain that angle, so the whole thing doesn't just flare out in one direction. You've got this angle, and then it comes straight down. Okay, so these almost are like little icicles, I guess. Okay, so I did use less glue that time, and that seemed to have helped. Okay, now the front of this thing, I am not happy with because it came undone. So I'm just going to spread some glue on there again, and I'm going to give this one more go. And I'm not editing this because I want you guys to see that despite the fact that I've run into a few challenges, quote unquote, during the assembly, that the final product can still be beautiful as long as you take your time and go in and correct some things here and there. Just because it didn't work out the first time doesn't mean it's too late. You can go in and you can fix things, and you can make them beautiful. So don't ever feel discouraged if you don't get something glued down the first time. Sometimes there's instances where, yeah, it's, you messed up and, maybe glued something out of order or whatever, and yeah, maybe there's no turning back. Just it happens. But in other instances, there's things you can do to go back and just clean it up, and fix it up, and make it perfect. I figure if you're going to do something, do it with love and take your time and do it right the first time, because then you'll appreciate it more. And especially if you're gifting these, your recipient will especially appreciate it that much more. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this up by getting glue on that last little tab there. And you see here, I'm using very little. Okay, so our roof is pretty much put together now. And what we can go ahead and do is get it attached to the main structure here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get it nice and centered so that there's a little bit of a gap on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to tuck this in like that just for now, just to get it out of the way. And the best way to do this is to simply just get your glue on these tabs. It's okay to be generous with the glue at this point because we're not going to be seeing any of this interior part. Once we get the roof on, it's going to cover it up completely. And find what you would deem to be the better job, the side that you feel you did a better job on as far as inking. That's going to be the front of your house. Okay, and just pop it right on. And again, just make sure that when you do that, you've got a nice equal amount of space between the roof line there and the actual house itself. You can see that I did a pretty good job of getting that nice and equal. And just push down. It should pretty much just go right onto the the tabs with the glue on them. Okay, and give that some time to set. And there we go. Okay, so obviously you're going to feed your string through here, hence the ornament portion. I have a little teardrop ornament, or embellishment I should say, that I am going to put right on the center of this right here. And I'm actually going to take the little adhesive that was on there and peel that off because I don't trust it. Stuff never really sticks. And peel that off completely and actually adhere that with some actual glue instead. Just going to put a nice little, I need to clean this off again. Put a little drop of glue right dead center. Don't need much. And let me grab my pick-me-up tool so I can grab that and place it right, oops, wrong way, just like that. flatten that out and just hold it. Now, for those of you that are watching our videos here for the first time, this is a pick-me-up tool by Silhouette. It's got this little piece here that I use to touch up my glue jobs. I use razor blades occasionally to do that, or a spatula, kind of whatever's handy. And then the other side has a little tacky little pointer thing, tacky little tip that you can use to grab your embellishments, especially when they're tiny and hard to grip. Okay, so last but not least, what we're going to do is put together a cute little bow. It's going to go right above the little doorway. Okay, and you've got these two, you got three pieces. Okay, you've got this piece here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little dowel, and I'm going to train this to kind of give it a bit of a curve. Okay, and then what you want to do is just pop a little bit of glue right in the center there. Just a tiny bit, don't need a lot. And just connect that right in the center. Don't squeeze here too much. You don't want to crease it. Just focus your efforts on the center of the bow. And just hold that in place until it dries. You want a nice round bow. And I thought that was looking kind of creased, but it's just the way that the light's hitting it. You can see that it's nice and round there. Okay, so the other side, I already trained it. I'm going to go ahead and add another little dot of glue right there. And just get that glued right there, like so. Okay. And just hold that between your fingers until it fully sets. I'll kind of flare that out a little bit. All right, and we've got this little piece that we're going to wrap around the center part here to kind of make it look more bow-like. Just start in the center here. So I'm going to put a little drop of glue right in the center there and pop that right in the middle. Try to get it nice and even, nice and centered, I should say. Just hold that in place for a few seconds. Okay, and then put another little drop. Ooh, that was a big one. I'm going to flatten that out, or spread that out a little bit, and then just fold it over onto itself. Hold that in place for a second. Maybe one more little drop, and close that up. Okay, so it looks like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this and get it glued to this part, just like that. Okay, so we got our cute little bow, just like that. And we're going to take this whole thing and get that glued to our little house here. Okay, so the bow itself is going to be nice and centered. Use the hearts and this little hole as your guide, and the top of the bow here is going to be almost pretty much touching these little scallops, I'll call them. Okay, just make sure that you got it nice and centered. That looks good. So we can go ahead and put a nice little drop of glue on there, and try not to push it down until you know you've got it in the right spot. Okay, that looks good. And there we go. And just hold that in place until it sets. Okay, and your little ornament is pretty much done here. All that's left to do is take your string, feed it through, tie it in a knot, and you are good to go.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.